How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is currently running its gigantic spring sale right now. Tons of fantastic deals available. New games, classics, everything in between. A lot of great discounts available right now. And in this video, I want to highlight some of the deals under the price of $5. A lot of stuff to pick from, but when you're looking at games under the $5 threshold, it's a little bit more limited, but there's still a ton of good stuff, even if you're on a tight budget. So let's get right into it, and let's start things off with arguably the best deal in the entire sale. Metal Gear Solid 5, the definitive experience. Whenever it's 80% off for $4, it's an easy recommendation. Now, I really hope that nobody gets duped into just buying Metal Gear Solid 5, which the base game is also available for $4. I don't know why they do this. Some people, I imagine, are not gonna realize, and then they're gonna just get the base game, but the definitive experience is the same price. This will get you Ground Zeroes and a bunch of other, superfluous DLC items that aren't anything crazy, but you might as well get them if you're buying it for the same price, especially with this, you're getting Ground Zeroes as well. MGS5 is a great game that obviously had a great deal of controversy when it initially came out, but now that we're 7.5 years removed from all of that, I feel like we could just look at Metal Gear Solid 5 for what it is, and what it is a really good open-world action-adventure stealth title. A lot of great gameplay elements, and Metal Gear is one of those franchises with MGS5. It took the franchise open world, but I actually felt like the open world was a complement to the overall Metal Gear style of gameplay instead of detracting from what Metal Gear is. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the narrative and the cut content and whatnot, and there is a good story here. Don't get it twisted. It's just told in a different way via the usage of these cassette tapes, and obviously Metal Gear was known for its long, lengthy cutscenes, to say the least. But yeah, MGS5, the definitive experience, $4 for this is a great pickup, so strongly recommended if you've never played Metal Gear Solid 5. Next up, we have Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition, 75% off for $4.99. Now, it should be noted that the base Shadow of Mordor game is available with PlayStation Plus Extra. This version with the Game of the Year Edition does include some bonus content, so there you go with that, but the game itself is really good, incredibly satisfying gameplay, another open-world action-adventure game here, and if you're a fan of action-adventure games with a decent bit of content, you'll find that with Shadow of Mordor. Solid narrative as well. Just don't expect a gigantic open world. Like, this is more of a contained open world, but it works for the style of game that Shadow of Mordor is, and again, super stylish gameplay, hack-and-slash action gameplay, super responsive. Enjoyed it a lot. $4.99 is a really good pickup for this. Next up, gotta give Supergiant Games title some mentions. Bastion, 85% off for $2.24. The fact that we are getting Bastion for $2 and change is so insane to me, but yeah, if you never played Bastion, you gotta go out of your way and play Bastion. It is a fantastic game with a great art style, great soundtrack, great narration. The gameplay itself, it shows its age. It's not anything blow away at this stage of the game, but I think the other elements of the game are so strong that it's worthwhile to go back and play it. The visual style is so aesthetically pleasing that all these years later, it still holds up really well, and Bastion was really Supergiant Games' first title, and at this point, Supergiant is noted as one of the best development studios and one of the most consistent development studios on the planet. Obviously, they're best known for their work on Transistor, but check out where it all started with Bastion because it's a fantastic game. $2 and change is a ridiculous price. Speaking of which, Supergiant Games' second title, Transistor, is very much worth a pickup as well. 80% off for $3.99. This is more of a action RPG with a really cool sci-fi theme, and once again, beautiful aesthetic to this game as well. Soundtrack is great. The whole style and presentation of Transistor is really strong. I feel like this is the title that might be the most unsung and underrated Supergiant Games title. It's either this or Pyre, really, but both of those games are great. Transistor itself for $4. Fantastic pickup, and strongly recommend this one as well. Pick up both Bastion and Transistor. I mean, you're spending, what, a little over $6 for both of those games. That's just ridiculous and very much worth a buy on both of those. Next up, we have Rayman Legends, 80% off for $3.99. Rayman Legends is a platformer that I constantly talk up because it is so good. This has a lot of elements from a throwback platformer from the heyday, but at the same time, kind of modernizes it for the audience of when it came out. I mean, it came out all the way back in 2014, which is wild to think about that. It's almost been a decade since Rayman Legends has dropped, but yeah, time goes by so fast these days. Rayman Legends is great, and it's very accessible, but at the same time, you know, does have a little bit of challenge to it as well. For $4, I think it's great. Is available through PlayStation Plus Extra, so you can play it that way if you do want. Next up, Castlevania Requiem, Symphony of the Night, and Rondo of Blood. Symphony of the Night is obviously the game that everybody is going to gravitate towards. Symphony of the Night is one of the most iconic games, not only as far as Castlevania games go, but really during that PS1 era, Symphony of the Night was a super popular game, and a lot of people harken back to it as one of the best Castlevania games that was ever released. It's a classic. Obviously, you know, these are throwback titles, so don't expect anything that revolutionary from a technical standpoint in the year 2023, but still, these are very much worthwhile to go through and play, and $4 for both of these titles. Think that's a great buy and very much worth a look. Next up, we got Little Nightmares, 75% off for $4.99. A very atmospheric survival horror platforming puzzler. Really cool game, and one of the more underrated games Bandai Namco has put out. It's super engrossing from an atmosphere standpoint, and gets that element of a horror game down to a T. For $4.99, I think it's quite a good buy, and it is available through PlayStation Plus Extra, so you can play it that way if you're interested. But yeah, $5 for it is quite good. Next up, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, 75% off for $4.99. You know, maybe this is a little bit of a controversial recommendation just because Mirror's Edge Catalyst was one of those games that I think a lot of people saw as a very big disappointment. And take it from somebody that played Mirror's Edge right when it came out back in 2008 and absolutely loved it. Loved the original Mirror's Edge, and Mirror's Edge Catalyst does not have the same charm that Mirror's Edge had back in 2008. But is it a bad game? Is it outright a bad game? I don't really think so. I think it still has a lot of the quality platforming elements. The visuals, even though this game came out back in like 2015, it holds up pretty nicely. Came out back in 2016, but it still holds up pretty nicely from a technical standpoint, and I still think you're gonna find fun with it. Is it worth $60? Absolutely not, but for $4.99, I actually think it's a pretty decent pickup, and I would say go ahead and give it a look at this price point. Obviously is available with EA Play if you do want to sign up for that. Next up, want to give a shout to Shadowrun Returns, and on top of Shadowrun Returns being $4.99, Shadowrun Hong Kong Extended Edition is $4.99, Dragonfall Director's Cut is $4.99, and then if you do just want to skip out on all that and you want to get all three games right out the gate, the Shadowrun Trilogy, really good value here, is 75% off for $9.99. Probably will give this another mention when we talk games under $10, but Shadowrun Returns is a game that I played way back on PC when it initially came out, and it was one of those surprising games that kind of out of nowhere got ported to PlayStation 4, but it's a pretty cool isometric RPG that has a lot of throwback elements to it. It's not super long. You can complete it, you know, relatively quickly as far as RPGs go, but the story is rather compelling, and I played it, you know, almost a decade ago at this point. Yeah, it came out back in 2013 on PC, and I had a fun time with it, and if you're a fan of that sci-fi aesthetic, I think you're gonna have an enjoyable experience with it. Just don't expect anything completely blow away. I thought the story was rather interesting, and I would recommend you to get the trilogy. All three games are pretty decent, and to get all three of them for $9.99 I think is a really good buy. If you do just want to get one of them, Returns for $4.99, not a bad pickup there either. And then you can check out the other games subsequently as well. Next up, we have Titanfall 2 Ultimate Edition, 85% off for $4.49. Titanfall 2 was a game that got really done dirty by EA, being released right around the same time as EA's own published Battlefield 1. Call of Duty, I want to say it was Infinite Warfare that year, and Overwatch had just come out before Titanfall 2. Out of all of those first-person shooters, which FPS were people going to skip out on? It's, of course, Titanfall 2, but you make an argument that out of all those FPSs, Titanfall 2 ended up being the best one, a substantial improvement upon the first game. It has a single-player campaign that is quite good, and really at this point, you know, you can go online, but the single-player campaign is really solid, and I would say worthwhile to pick it up just for that. And for $4.49, I think it's a solid pickup. Hopefully, Titanfall as a franchise isn't going to be completely done away with. I did hear some rumblings about a Titanfall game unfortunately getting canceled, but you know, never was officially announced. But yeah, always a bummer to hear, because I think this franchise had a lot of potential, and, you know, I'm a sucker for gigantic robots beating the hell out of each other, and just gigantic robots in the context of a multiplayer FPS. It was something I was always going to get into. Unfortunately, didn't resonate at a extremely high level commercially. Lastly, do want to give a shout to Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which is available through PlayStation Plus Extra. A great narrative-driven, emotional adventure. It's, you know, doesn't have revolutionary gameplay or anything like that, but the story in this game is rather good, and it's a game that you can complete very, very quickly. I think most of you guys can complete it in a sitting, but even then, you know, it's gonna be fairly quick, and sometimes we need these quicker bite-sized experiences, so to speak. It is available with PlayStation Plus Extra, but if you're remotely looking for more of a story-driven adventure that is emotional at times, this is going to be a really good pickup. $5, a little bit pricier than I would like. I mean, I'm cheap, and I would like to see that $2.99, but hey, $5 is pretty good, all things considered. But that's going to do it for me. Again, the PlayStation Store spring sale is running right now, and with that, a lot of great deals. Links to all of these mentioned in the video in the description box down below. As always, thank you for watching, and sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.